Hi, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. All right, so as promised, here is our video on the difference between being nice and being kind. So, my intention for putting this video out isn't so that we can go, oh yeah, look at him or look at her or so and so. They're being nice and not kind. This isn't about now I can point a finger at that person and kind of judge them and keep my distance from them because they don't know how to be kind. This is more about understanding the self. So if you read the little bio to my channel, that's what this channel is about, is self, to know the self-mastery, shadow work, and what we have authority over. So I wanted to preface this with that, because even I, who really, I love peace, and I really try to observe, be that third-party observer, and watch when my ego just jumps in there and is doing its thing. If I'm subject to having to keep an eye out for when I can do that, especially when I'm emotionally connected to something that, where I really need to be that third-party observer. I really need to stay on it and to serve myself best and to serve those that I love and care about and am in relationship with. So let's move forward. Let's go at it. Now, the first thing, I had 4 articles that I looked over, and there will be links to them below. There was one that I selected for the video, and I'll explain that in a second. So the first thing that came up was a summary, and it said, being nice and being kind are often used interchangeably, but they have different intentions. Being nice is a self-centered behavior that comes with the intent of pleasing others, while being kind is doing something that is helpful to others or comes from a place of benevolence. Kindness is often expressed through actions that you take for other people, while niceness typically involves more superficial words or simple gestures. Being nice is about ensuring we protect ourselves from discomfort, while being kind supports us in living freely in ourselves and connecting authentically to others. Kind people have good self-esteem and expect to be treated with respect, while nice people are desperate for approval, so they're often mistreated or taken advantage of. I can think of my own self in the past, out of the trauma and abuse and neglect that it came from, the coping mechanisms gone awry in my behaviors. And I see that those behaviors reflected in this next article that I'm going to cover. The woman that writes this, the name appears as though it's a female, Leah, L-I-A, Avellino, A-V-E-L-L-I-N-O, and she is an LCSW. I do believe that's a licensed counselor. I'm not sure specifically, but those are her credentials. And the article is called Why Being Nice Can Be Problematic in Relationships and How to Choose Kindness Instead. It is on www.wellandgood.com/niceness-vs-kindness-relationships/. The link will be down below. Very good article. I chose this one because it's relative to relationships. right? And that's what I have to share. It's about the relationship with self first. On to her article. When I ask my clients why they don't share what they really think and feel with their colleagues, family members, partners, and friends, most people say some version of, because I don't want to be mean, or I don't want to hurt them. Somewhere along the way, many of us started to buy into the cultural norm that we should avoid tough conversations in the name of being nice. But in my practice, I work with people to differentiate between niceness versus kindness in relationships, because niceness, being pleasing and agreeable, actually harms us and our connections, while kindness, a quality of caring about other people, even if caring doesn't generate positive feelings, supports us in living freely in ourselves and connecting authentically to others. The distinction may seem subtle, but it is significant. Being nice is about ensuring we protect ourselves from discomfort. The underlying motive is that if we pad ourselves with protection by being pleasant and easy, quote unquote, for others, then we never have to deal with disappointing them, experiencing friction in the relationship, and the malaise that comes with it. This is something that I know came out of my childhood. I know that. Before I recognized this and did the self-work on this, I definitely was able to see that this was me, that I had been doing this. And that's why. One misconception about being a people pleaser, those engaging in compulsory niceness, going along to get along, saying yes when they mean no, is that we do it to make sure not to disappoint others. And this is so sad, because that's a surefire way to end up letting somebody else down. It's contraindicated. It's can't think of the other word I want, but so let me continue. Any connection that is destabilized by truth is one that needs more of it. That is so good. I got to read it again. Any connection that is destabilized by truth is one that needs more of it. In reality, people pleasing is about avoiding our own negative emotions that arise in the presence of another who doesn't get what they want from us. It's about not wanting to threaten relational security by being true to ourselves. I will tell you that I am, and that's why I did my short this week, unto thine own self be true. What does that mean to you? Because as a course of healing out of my own personality disorder and maladaptive behaviors, I had to leave behind people. Like attracts like. So I had individuals with behaviors that were similarly maladaptive. And I wasn't selling myself short anymore. So as I took accountability for my behaviors and I shifted them accordingly, I had to say goodbye to relationships, because this is exactly what happened. I wasn't going to give up that being true to myself. And there were times when I really needed people. If you are familiar with my channel and you've seen some of my older videos, a year ago at this time I was, well, not this time, but earlier in the year, a year ago, I was homeless. And I had to depend on people. And I wasn't going to betray myself, even in that circumstance. So when I was mistreated by poor behaviors, because, I have a lot of compassion. A lot of these behaviors, I had them myself. They came out of coping mechanisms gone awry. We just have a lot of healing to be done as a collective in the world. So back to the article. It's about not wanting to threaten relational security by being true to ourselves. Niceness is therefore a self-motivated behavior that is aimed at being liked and keeping ourselves in positive regard with others so that we don't have to face negative emotions. However, the full truth is it doesn't get rid of the discomfort in our bodies. Remember how I'm always saying, come into the body, feel it. It doesn't get rid of the discomfort in our bodies, it just delays it. We may feel better saying yes when we mean no in front of our friend, but when we're going to that party we really didn't want to go to the next day, that's when the negative emotions, remorse, regret, exhaustion, arise. And I can remember when I was really young, getting myself in some scenarios with the opposite gender I didn't really want to be in, and I didn't know how to say no. And I accepted things for myself that wasn't what I wanted. Where niceness is self-motivated, kindness is motivated by caring for someone else. Caring for another means being clear and direct, even if what is shared isn't necessarily easy or comfortable to hear. So when I started having those in the relationships that I had been in, and the individuals be really upset and irritated and angry with me for setting my limitations and for advocating for myself, because I was willing to say, what wasn't easy to say and wasn't comfortable to hear, that's when I knew to distance myself. Being told that I was wrong, I wasn't going to argue. I just stepped away because they weren't emotionally available. They weren't emotionally mature. And I gave up correcting people or helping them to correct their behaviors so that they could treat me appropriately. It's tough. I had to walk away from people I really loved, I really cared about, that I needed. The interesting thing was, most often they weren't able to take care of, appropriate needs that the other in a relationship should be taken care of to be in a relationship. If you reveal, I think I jumped ahead. However, the full truth is, it doesn't get rid of the discomfort in our bodies, it just delays it. We may feel better saying yes when we mean no in front of our friend, but when we are going to that party, okay, I'm sorry, I jumped way back. I promise you I'm going to learn video editing. I'm doing the best I can here. Bless my little neurodivergent brain. Where niceness is self-motivated, kindness is motivated by caring for someone else. Caring for another means being clear and direct, even if what is shared isn't necessarily easy or comfortable to hear. If you reveal a belief or feeling that is self-possessed, that means you own it, it's yours to own, you feel that way. It has to do with you and your feelings. If you reveal a belief or feeling that is self-possessed and conflict ensues, you didn't cause the rupture in the relationship. I love this. She says, you revealed the crack. You didn't cause the rupture in the relationship. You revealed the crack. Any connection that is destabilized by truth, i.e., a moment of raw kindness over niceness, is one that needs more of it. Once the crack is revealed, the true work of authentic togetherness can begin. Just because something was unspoken in the relationship doesn't mean it wasn't felt and contributed to the distance. We must make the implicit explicit in order to be truly close. That means intimacy. In order to have intimacy, and that's what I was willing to do, is give up, even if it meant all my relationships. And those that I have now, they're my previous relationships that I had to step away from were long term. I had been connected with these individuals long term. The only people in my life now that are prevalent are those who, the majority of those are newer relationships, because I was willing to let go and even be alone, to not betray myself. To thine own self be true. And intimacy is something that is rich. That's a rich aspect of a relationship. That's what we want, intimate relationships. Okay, so we must make the implicit explicit in order to be truly close. All right, the fans here are going to blow that one. All right. Sometimes what we want to hear, nice, is not what we need to hear, kind. Just like medicine. It doesn't taste good when it goes down, but ultimately it makes us better. And then she gives 5 steps to living out the value of kindness rather than niceness. I'm going to read the 5. I'm not going to read what the comments that she, or what she has written to each step. Step 1, build awareness of what's happening on the inside versus what's being expressed on the outside. That's an inner world. 2, monitor resentment. That's a big key. If you think that you've done something and you were being kind, and you can feel a resentment, if you're willing to stop, come into the body, slow down, be that third party observer, and you see the resentment, that's the shadow work. You weren't being kind. You were being nice. And that's why you feel resentment. So that's a big, it's a key. Step 3, understand where your commitment to niceness comes from. I know for me, it came from, oh no, that's further down. Hold on. Step 4, anticipate and prepare for difficult conversations. One of the aspects of CPTSD, complex post-traumatic syndrome, is conflict avoidant, understandably so. When you're in relationships with those who have narcissistic behaviors, conflict is a normal part of life, because there is not communication. There's argument. And it's for the purpose of establishing that that individual is right and you are wrong. So naturally, conflict is something that is sought to be avoided. And the reality to life is there's always going to be conflict. So it's just how you handle it, because any two people are different. So they're going to conflict in how they feel, what they need, what they want. It's like contrast, right? It's going to be there. Step 5, reframe the goal from being liked to being respected. All right, I'm going to read this one. While there's nothing wrong with wanting to be liked, when it is our primary goal, we may trade what sounds good to someone else for what feels bad inside ourselves. When we make others feel good, but we feel bad, this is unkind to them and to us. Consider the difference between being liked, often rooted in an interest to seek approval, and being respected, which comes from living in line with your values and from being a person of integrity. I read that funny, so I'm going to read it again. Consider the difference between being liked, often rooted in an interest to seek approval, and being respected, which comes from living in line with your values and from being a person of integrity. It takes time to reframe the belief that nice is good, and honesty that creates disharmony is bad. Give yourself space to get acquainted with a new way of thinking, right? As you consider choosing respect over likability, take a moment to consider what you value. Honesty, authenticity, clarity, perhaps, instead of what you're valued for. And that's the note that I was going to say earlier. I know it was hard for me to step away from these relationships because I wasn't getting that my role in the codependent part was I saw myself as being loyal. So I wasn't recognizing that it was about my values, not what I was valued, which was being seen as loyal. I was betraying myself, right? I needed to be loyal to me first. And I got that. I learned it the hard way, but I got it. Are you living your life in alignment with these values? What needs to shift to support you in being in harmony with yourself instead of focusing on being in harmony with everyone else or another person? When this is hard, it can be helpful to look to figures in the world and in our lives who we respect because of their commitment to their purpose and doing what they set out to do, regardless of their likability. Listen out for the voices who invite your negative emotions and do not consider diversity of thought as problematic. I read that funny. Let me reread that. Listen out for the voices who invite your negative emotions and do not consider diversity of thought as problematic. They will be good people with whom to practice directness and clarity. I have some friends who I love dearly, and I have to be very careful because directness and clarity is confusing to them. They just haven't been handled that way. They've been in ultra dysfunctional relationships. So, we don't have to chuck the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. We can select, to work with others, even though this might be tough for them. And it's always the relationship with self first, right? All right, I hope this has helped. If it stemmed any questions, please, let's get a dialogue going. The thing is, the kindness, it's the relationship with the self first, right? So the kindness for you to yourself, that will just transform the world. Because once you've got it with yourself, then you've got it to give. All right? Santo La Pace. Peace.